More than 2 years ago, Montana corrections officials abruptly closed a successful treatment program in Boulder for female criminal offenders. Now, 2 former staffers at that program have written a book that not only questions why the closure happened, but also takes aim at the state correction department's entire structure and philosophy of treatment for offenders under its control. MTN's Mike Dennison has this full story.
Michael Johnson was head of security at the state-run Riverside Recovery and Re-Entry Program on the outskirts of Boulder, and Rhonda Champagne, its lead counselor and therapist. They are co-authors of the just-published book, Correcting Treatment in Corrections, which relates how the Riverside program began in 2016 and then came to a sudden end 2.5 years later. At the beginning, Johnson and Champagne clashed over whether women in the program should be strip-searched upon arrival, as they are now in secure state-sanctioned facilities in Montana for criminal offenders.
You can't start off treatment, in my opinion, by absolutely tearing a person down to their basic nakedness in a most humiliating manner. I don't care how nicely you tell somebody to take their clothes off. That's not treatment.
Johnson and his boss agreed to waive the policy, and he says that change was a key to the program's success.
They respected that so much that we didn't do that. They managed themselves. They just really valued the way we treated them.
Most of the women who entered Riverside were drug offenders and had undergone significant trauma in their lives: drug or alcohol addiction, domestic abuse, losing their children, or witnessing a loved one commit suicide. Champagne said Riverside focused on addressing that trauma and rebuilding the women's confidence and self-esteem without an emphasis on punishment. She and Johnson say the program was working and cite department data showing that 2/3 of Riverside's graduates had stayed out of prison for more than a year. But out of the blue, in September 2018, DOC officials shut down the program, telling employees at a meeting with 1 day's notice.
We were running what we were being told was a successful program, so none of us were prepared for a closure of that sort.
DOC officials said they needed the facility to house geriatric inmates who would be moved to Riverside from a facility being closed in Lewistown. And they told employees Montana already had 2 treatment programs for women inmates run by private contractors and didn't need a 3rd one. Johnson said he and Champagne and also the legislative auditor began examining some of those contracts.
Those contracts are absolutely what closed down a program that was doing very well and meeting Department of Corrections goals, reducing recidivism, reintegrating people back into the community successfully, stronger, overcoming their addictions and overcoming their traumas.
So what's in those contracts? Did they play a role in the closure of Riverside? And how do they shape correctional policy in Montana? We'll take a closer look at those questions tomorrow. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
For a more detailed, in-depth look at the book's criticisms of correctional policy and the state's response, you can read Mike Dennison's full story on our website.